Yo, what's up guys, it's Atrix here. Today in this video, I'll be talking about the top 3 upcoming Nintendo Switch emulators for Android. One of these is 100% guaranteed to be released, the second one has high possibilities of releasing very soon, the third one has a medium possibility of releasing. As you might know, Nintendo Switch emulators for Android have an usual minimum requirement. For example, you need at least 6 to 8 GB of RAM, Snapdragon 845 processor or above, and also Android version 10 or above. These minimum requirements will vary from emulator to emulator, so the possible upcoming Nintendo Switch emulators for Android which I'll be talking about will also have similar minimum requirements. With that being said, let's talk about the best confirmed Nintendo Switch emulator which is scheduled to release in October, early October in my opinion, not confirmed officially from developers, but it's almost done. That is Strato emulator for Android, the fork version of Skyline emulator or the continuation of Project Skyline. The Textman code has been completed, so the only process which is remaining is performance improvements. We already saw Strato emulator's first ever gameplay. That video will be put on the iCard above if you haven't watched it already. It ran Super Mario Odyssey pretty well without any graphical issues, but with very low performance, or you can even call it terrible performance, on a Snapdragon processor Android device. To fix this and provide everyone an playable experience, the developer are currently working on bettering or improving the performance. That should probably be completed very soon, and after that Strato emulator version 1.0.0 will be releasing very soon. I'm guessing that it should be done by September end or early October. So be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, turn on all notification, as I'll let you guys know once the Strato emulator is released. Let's move on towards our next Nintendo Switch emulator which has very high possibility of releasing. It is the Ryujinx Nintendo Switch emulator for Android. I have already talked about it in my previous videos and told you guys that Ryujinx emulator Android version may be releasing pretty soon by the end of this year or early next year, because their competitor Yuzu emulator already released their Nintendo Switch emulator and Ryujinx already has ARM support, so they only have to port their emulator for Android devices, which should take some good amount of work. But the performance and games compatibility which Ryujinx provides is pretty amazing. Ryujinx is capable of emulating new titles from day one, that's its speciality, whereas Yuzu requires some updates. And let's not forget that Skyline emulator was also created by using some of Ryujinx emulator's codes, so it's highly possible that Ryujinx team may release its own Nintendo Switch emulator for Android pretty soon. It will happen one day. The developers themselves have mentioned that this was few years ago, but right now, as you know, our Android devices have become very powerful, and Nintendo Switch emulation on Android is pretty easy. Like, you can get any mid-range phone with Snapdragon processor in 2023 and it should at least run 2D Nintendo Switch titles like Sonic Mania, etc. That is guaranteed in 2023. I already tried it out on my iQOO Z6 Lite. If you guys have not watched that video, be sure to check it out on the iCard above. To be completely honest guys, Yuzu emulator Android was a bit disappointing because the performance isn't really outstanding. It still has lot of graphical issues. The developers aren't updating or fixing the bugs which the emulator has, and there are no visible improvements, at least for me, since the past few months in Yuzu emulator Android. There have been some changes and optimization, but that doesn't make it the best emulator, and I do believe that it will be beneficial for Ryujinx team as well, as they can release Ryujinx early access versions on Play Store for paid, just like Yuzu early access, and people would easily buy them because I believe that it will be more optimized than Yuzu Android. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about it. With that being said, let's move on towards our third upcoming Nintendo Switch emulator which has medium possibility of releasing, Lemuroid Switch emulator. If you guys haven't known already, Lemuroid is an all-in-one open source emulator for Android available on Play Store, completely ad-free. One of the best, if not the best, all-in-one emulator ever created. People always keep stealing its codes and uploading fake emulators on Play Store, but I have spoken with the developer of Lemuroid emulator. He's really amazing guy and he wants to make sure that Lemuroid is compatible with as many consoles as possible to become the best all-in-one emulator for Android devices. For now, I'm not really sure if Nintendo Switch emulation will be coming to Lemuroid, but from my guess, it is highly possible because the developer always tries to implement new consoles. I remember about a year ago, I messaged him on Patreon and I asked him, will 3DS emulation be coming to Lemuroid? He said yes, and soon after we saw Lemuroid 3DS emulator. Well, it actually uses code of Citra emulator. That's why I believe that Lemuroid Switch emulator is also possible. It can use code of Skyline emulator, Yuzu Android. It will be more useful for us as we can not only emulate Nintendo Switch but many other consoles as well through Lemuroid. Let me know in the comment section down below which emulator do you want to see or get released pretty soon in future. And that's going to be it for today's video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.